The day my teacher tore my exam paper in front of the entire class and said I would never succeed. The classroom was dead silent. 42 students stared at me as pieces of my exam paper slowly fell to the floor like broken glass. My hands were shaking. My teacher looked directly into my eyes and said in a cold voice, "You are wasting your life. Some students are simply born to fail." A few classmates laughed. Others looked away. And at that exact moment, I felt something inside me completely break. But nobody in that room knew the truth. Nobody knew I had not eaten dinner for 2 nights. Nobody knew I studied under a streetlight because our electricity had been cut off. Nobody knew I was carrying a secret that would soon change everything. My name is Daniel. At school, I was known as the invisible failure. I wore the same faded uniform almost every day. My shoes had holes. Students whispered when I walked by, "Bro, look at his bag. Did he pull that from the garbage? Why does he even come to school?" Every insult felt like a knife. But the worst part? I pretended not to care. Because when pain becomes normal, you stop reacting. My father had left us when I was 9. My mother worked 3 jobs. At night, I helped her carry vegetables to the market before studying for exams. Sometimes I would fall asleep while reading. Sometimes I cried quietly so my younger sister would not hear. But every morning I still went to school. Not because I was confident. Not because I believed in myself. But because deep inside me, I was terrified of becoming the person everyone expected me to be. A failure. One Monday morning, our mathematics teacher announced a surprise exam. The entire room exploded with panic. But my heart dropped for a different reason. I had studied all night, not because I understood everything, but because I desperately wanted one chance. One chance to prove I wasn't stupid. The exam began. Sweat rolled down my neck. My pencil trembled. Questions blurred in front of me. Students finished early. I was still struggling. Then suddenly, my teacher stopped beside my desk. He grabbed my paper. His eyes narrowed. "What is this?" I froze. The entire classroom looked at me. "You call this an answer?" he shouted. Then it happened. Rip rip. He tore my paper in half. Gasps filled the room. One girl covered her mouth. A boy in the back laughed loudly. Bruh. He destroyed him. My face burned with humiliation. I wanted the floor to swallow me alive. Then my teacher pointed at the door. "Get out. Stop pretending you belong here." That sentence hit harder than the torn paper. Because for a moment, I believed him. I climbed to the rooftop of the school building. The wind was violent. Dark clouds covered the sky. And for the first time in years, I completely gave up. I sat on the edge. My chest felt heavy. I whispered to myself, maybe everyone would be better without me. Then suddenly, a voice behind me said, "If you jump, your problems won't disappear. They'll just transfer to the people who love you." I turned around. It was the school janitor, Mr. Reyes, a quiet old man everyone ignored. He slowly sat beside me. Then he said something I will never forget. "You know what people said about me when I was young? That I was too poor to become anything. Now I clean this school every day and I still smile." I looked at him, confused. He smiled softly. "Because success is not about how people see you. It's about refusing to surrender before your story changes." Those words hit me harder than any insult. Then he handed me something. An old notebook. Inside were handwritten math solutions. Thousands of them. Page after page. "I used to dream of becoming an engineer," he whispered. "Life had different plans. But maybe you can continue the dream I couldn't finish." At that moment, I broke down crying. Not because I was weak, but because for the first time in years, someone believed in me. From that day on, everything changed. While classmates slept, I studied. While others mocked me online, I practiced equations. While people doubted me, I quietly rebuilt myself. Every night, Mr. Reyes stayed after school teaching me mathematics. Sometimes until midnight. Sometimes with only a flashlight because the hallway lights shut off. He would slam the table and shout, "Again, you're not tired. You're becoming stronger." At first, I failed repeatedly. I got answers wrong. I made careless mistakes. I wanted to quit. But every time I tried to give up, I remembered the sound of my exam paper tearing. Rip rip. That humiliation became fuel. Pain became motivation. And slowly, the boy everyone mocked started changing. Months later, the school announced a national mathematics competition. The top students immediately signed up. When I wrote my name on the list, the classroom erupted. This is a joke. Bro can't even pass regular tests. Even my teacher laughed. Then he looked directly at me and said, "You are about to embarrass yourself on a national level." The room exploded with laughter. But this time, I stayed silent. Because people are dangerous when they suffer quietly. Competition day arrived. Hundreds of students. Bright lights. Television cameras. Elite schools. Top-ranked contestants. I felt completely out of place. My hands shook as the timer began. Question after question attacked us. Students panicked. Some gave up halfway. One contestant slammed his pencil down and whispered, "This is impossible." But something strange happened. The harder the questions became, the calmer I felt, because suffering had trained me. Humiliation had trained me. Failure had trained me. Every lonely night, every insult, every tear, every sacrifice. It had prepared me for this exact moment. Hours later, the results were announced. Third place. Second place. Then the announcer paused dramatically. National champion. Silence. Daniel Reyes. The entire auditorium exploded. People stood up screaming. Cameras flashed. Teachers stared in disbelief. One student shouted, "That's the guy everyone mocked." Then I saw my mathematics teacher. Frozen. Speechless. Completely shocked. But the biggest twist came seconds later. I walked onto the stage. And instead of celebrating immediately, I searched the crowd for Mr. Reyes, the janitor, the man nobody respected, the man who saved my life. When I found him standing in the back corner, tears rolled down his face. Then I did something nobody expected. I pointed at him in front of the entire auditorium and said, "This victory belongs to the man who believed in me when nobody else did." The room went silent. Even the principal looked stunned. Then the audience slowly stood up, one by one, and gave the janitor a standing ovation. Mr. Reyes covered his mouth and cried, because after years of feeling invisible, someone finally saw him. Moral lesson. Never underestimate the quiet student. Never laugh at someone struggling. And never assume failure is the end of someone's story. Because some people are fighting battles you cannot see. Some students are surviving pain while chasing dreams. And sometimes, the person everyone doubts today becomes the person everyone admires tomorrow. Success is not reserved for the talented. It belongs to the people who refuse to quit after humiliation, rejection, failure, and pain. So, if life embarrasses you, if people mock you, if your situation feels impossible, remember this. Your current chapter is not your final ending. One day, the same people who ignored you may become shocked by your transformation. And when that day comes, stay humble, because the strongest people are not the ones who never suffered. They are the ones who suffered deeply and still chose to keep going.